What if that's just a well-lit trap? What if the real retirement cheat codes are hiding in towns with unpronounceable names and rent under $500, where healthcare programs still work, taxes vanish after age 65, and your neighbor's idea of luxury is a working wood stove and nobody bothering you? One town on this list literally capped property taxes in 1992 and forgot to undo it. Another runs senior housing off geothermal heat, powered by an extinct volcano. Think you know the best cities to retire? Cute. Let's vaporize that illusion. These aren't budget towns. These are pressure valves, escape hatches from an economy that eats the old alive. What nobody tells you is this: if you pick wrong, you don't just lose money, you lose time, peace, options. But if you pick right, you don't just retire, you Let's break it down. Number 11, Mountain View, Arkansas. You can rent a house in Mountain View, Arkansas for less than the cost of your monthly phone bill. And here's the twist: you might actually want to. Welcome to a town where the internet's spotty, but the music never stops. Average rent, around $480 a month. Median home price, under $110,000. Violent crime rate, lower than the number of dulcimers per square mile. And best of all, Arkansas doesn't tax your Social Security at all. This place isn't just affordable, it's weirdly soothing. Nestled in the Ozarks, it runs on bluegrass and biscuits. Here's the real kicker: Mountain View is one of the last towns in America where front porches still have a social function. You'll hear more impromptu fiddle jams than sirens, because there are no sirens. The cops mostly patrol the gossip. Local Redditor says, "It's 1953 here and I'm okay with it. We've got music, meatloaf, and Medicare." But then comes the price of peace. Literally nothing is open past 8 p.m. The entertainment scene is basically a VFW hall and your neighbor's conspiracy theories. And don't expect DoorDash unless you count your neighbor's kid bringing over a casserole. And look, I love small towns, but explain to me why I can buy a handmade banjo at a gas station but can't find a working ATM within 10 miles. Also, who decided every restaurant should close at sundown-ish? That's not a time, that's a vibe. But picture this: you wake up to cool fog on the hills, sip coffee while someone plays mandolin next door, and your biggest expense is deciding which local diner makes the best gravy. The rhythm is slower, the noise is gone, and for once, your bank account isn't the thing keeping you awake at night. And if you think this place is stuck in time, wait till you see the next town, where property taxes haven't changed since the Clinton era, and locals still argue about Y2K. Number 10, Truth or Consequences, New Mexico. There's a town in America named after a 1950s game show.
Now it's time for Truth or Consequences.
It should have been a gimmick, but somehow it became a loophole. Truth or Consequences, New Mexico. Yep, that's the actual name. But don't let it fool you. This isn't just a weird roadside stop. It's a full-blown retirement glitch in the Matrix, if you know how to use it right. Let's start with the obvious. You can live here on just Social Security. Not barely survive, live. Median rent, approximately $520 per month. Healthcare access, a full-service VA clinic, regional hospital, and senior-only clinics with sliding scale fees. Property tax relief. Seniors over 65 can qualify for the head of household exemption, the low-income property tax rebate, and in some cases, a total deferral of tax payment until death or sale of the property. Utilities. Reduced rate geothermal heating from natural hot springs cuts winter bills in half. SNAP and LIHEAP access. High eligibility in the region, plus local nonprofits help file benefits for seniors with mobility or tech issues. No tax on Social Security income. New Mexico used to be one of the few states that did, but recent legislation repealed it in 2022. Now your check arrives clean. What nobody tells you is that Truth or Consequences didn't evolve with the economy, and that's exactly why it works. It's not on the path of gentrification. There are no Starbucks, no Whole Foods, and nothing for Silicon Valley to disrupt, which means it's still affordable, still human-sized, still yours. But here's the irony. The truth is, this town has quietly become a sanctuary, not just for retirees looking to save money, but for people looking to feel something again. You can walk the main street and still see mom-and-pop diners with $5 breakfast specials. You can go to the farmer's market and find hand-stitched quilts next to chili ristras, all sold by people who've lived here for decades. You can soak in natural geothermal springs, the same ones ancient tribes used, for $8. This isn't nostalgia, it's relief. From the speed, from the noise, from the pressure to always do more, make more, chase more. Here, less actually means more. One Reddit commenter said, "I came out here to die, but instead I started living for the first time. And yes, there's a hospital nearby if you need it, but don't be surprised if your blood pressure drops on its own." Now, let's talk heat. Because in T or C, the sun doesn't just shine, it interrogates. Imagine this. You wake up early. The air is cool, dry, silent. You sip coffee on your porch while steam rises from hot springs just down the road. Your biggest decision today is whether to read a book, visit the arts co-op, or just float. There are no traffic jams, no HOA drama, no overpriced brunches to impress people you don't even like. And when your monthly check hits your account, you don't panic, you smile. Because for once, you're not trying to outrun your bills, you're walking next to them and winning. And if you think a town named Truth or Consequences is wild, wait till you see the next one, where you can buy a house for the price of a used ATV, and the local mayor also runs the hardware store. Number 9. Red Cloud, Nebraska. There's a town in Nebraska where the biggest local celebrity has been dead for 75 years, and somehow that's exactly why it still works. Welcome to Red Cloud. Population just under 1,000. Average rent around $450 to $500, and a cost of living so low it feels like the calendar stopped updating sometime in the late 90s. This isn't small town America for show. This is small town America that never rebranded. On the surface, Red Cloud looks like it should be fading. Young people leave, stores close early, silence is the dominant sound. But then you look closer, and the numbers quietly start behaving. Median rent, approximately $475 per month. Median home price, approximately $90,000 to $100,000. Crime rate, violent crime is rare. Property crime is well below national averages. Nebraska does not tax Social Security income. Seniors can qualify for property tax freezes, homestead exemptions, and low-income energy assistance through the state. Healthcare? You're covered. Clinic in town, regional hospitals within driving distance, and senior transport programs that actually answer the phone. What nobody tells you is that Red Cloud survives because it turns stagnation into a feature. It's the hometown of Willa Cather, and instead of chasing growth, the town preserved itself like a novel, carefully, intentionally, and quietly. One local summed it up online: "Nothing changes here. That's why my bills don't either." But then comes the other side of the ledger. Red Cloud is not convenient. There's one grocery store, one main drag, and if Amazon shows up late, no one's shocked. They're just impressed it came at all. If you need nightlife, Red Cloud offers a porch, a chair, and your thoughts. And honestly, those thoughts get louder when you're not constantly broke. This town doesn't distract you from aging. It gives you room to do it with dignity. Let me just say this: the wind in Nebraska is personal. It doesn't blow past you. It interrogates you. You'll be walking calmly and suddenly feel like the weather took offense to your existence. Hats? Gone. Papers? Gone. Sense of control? Also gone. It's like living inside a screensaver that's mad at you. Be honest. Except that you mind your own business and occasionally eat a good taco, Pearsall, Texas is your loophole. Located an hour south of San Antonio, far enough to avoid the sprawl, but close enough to visit when you need a Costco fix, Pearsall is what happens when affordability quietly wins. Here's what makes it sneakily powerful. Average rent? Approximately $600 per month. Yep, not a typo. Property taxes? Low, especially if you qualify for Texas's 65+ freeze, which literally locks your school tax rate until you die or move. No state income tax, because it's Texas. Frio County Aging Services offers discounted meals, transport, and help with Medicaid paperwork, aka government navigation for people with patience levels below 0. Senior utility discounts through city services if you're on a fixed income, bilingual medical access in town, and a regional hospital nearby. It's not glamorous, and that's the point. Pearsall is not trying to become the next Santa Fe. It's trying to stay solvent. Think tamale trucks, community cookouts, quiet streets, and not one overpriced candle shop in sight. Let's be honest, if you're the type of person who needs artisanal vinegar flights and 9 Pilates studios per block, Pearsall might feel like witness protection. But if you want peace, privacy, and the rare ability to stretch $1,200 into an actual lifestyle, this place delivers. The only thing gentrifying Pearsall is time, and even that's moving slow. It's not a tourist town. It's not a retirement destination on purpose, which is exactly what makes it perfect for retirement. And yes, there's a train, a loud one, at all hours. Because in Pearsall, the train doesn't care about your nap schedule. It comes when it wants, blasts the horn like it's auditioning for a Fast and Furious reboot, and then leaves you wondering if you hallucinated the whole thing. It's not a bug, it's a personality trait. Imagine waking up with no alarm, walking out into soft Texas Texas sun, no traffic, no bills piling up, no overpriced brunch lines, just the smell of mesquite smoke, the sound of quiet, and a freezer full of tamales from your neighbor's place has retired both people and vegetables. Respect. Would you give up city life if it meant never stressing about money again? Yes? No? Or depends on the taco scene. Drop your take in the comments. I'm watching. Number 7. Ely, Nevada. Some towns slow down over time. Ely, Nevada, it never sped up in the first place. Tucked in the literal middle of nowhere, Ely is 3 hours from anywhere. But that distance, it's what keeps the rent low, the people weird, and the pace slow enough to catch your breath. Now here's what makes Ely a retirement escape hatch. Average rent, approximately $585 per month. Zero income tax. Thanks, Nevada. No tax on Social Security income, because it doesn't exist here. White Pine County Senior Center provides meals, transportation, and even utility payment help. Local clinics offer discounted prescription programs and senior-focused care. Crime? A fraction of the national average, especially for violent crime, which is rare and weirdly polite when it does happen. Ely feels like an off-grid postcard someone forgot to mail. But what nobody tells you is that off the grid is also off the radar of inflation. But let's be real. If you crave convenience, Ely will test your soul. Groceries? Expect to plan ahead. Big box stores? Try nearest Walmart is 100 miles away. Entertainment? Hope you like steam trains, ghost towns, and long conversations with the sky. The nightlife here is mostly stars, wind, and maybe a raccoon if you're lucky. Still, if your dream retirement is peace over parties and dignity over DoorDash, this place makes the math make sense. Let's talk weather. Ely does that classic mountain town bait and switch. Gorgeous fall? Stunning. Then bam! Winter rolls in like it's mad you were enjoying yourself. Ice on the sidewalk, snow up your driveway, and wind that feels like it's trying to evict your skeleton. Don't even think about owning a palm plant. Ely will kill it just to prove a point. You wake up to total stillness, the kind of quiet that feels earned. Steam rises off your coffee. Snow glows blue outside your window. No bills piling up. No sirens. No HOA email about your non-regulation bird feeder. Just you, the silence, and a town that minds its own business, including yours. Retirement doesn't have to mean giving up. Here, it means getting back to zero. Funny how Ely, one of the most remote towns in America, has a lower crime rate than most gated communities in Florida. Apparently, distance still works better than fences. And if you think Ely is remote, wait until the next town, where the public library doubles as a heating station and nobody complains. Let's break it down. Number 6. Pocahontas, Iowa. There's a town in Iowa where a full meal still costs less than parking in most cities. And no, that's not nostalgia. That's policy, neglect, and luck lining up just right. Welcome to Pocahontas. Population just over 1,700, average rent hovering around $500, and a cost of living that feels like it missed the last 2 decades entirely. This place doesn't look like a retirement hack, which is exactly why it is. Pocahontas sits in northwest Iowa, surrounded by farmland, grain silos, and the kind of silence people used to complain about until everything got loud and expensive. Here's what the numbers actually say. Average rent, approximately $475 to $525 per month. Median home price, approximately $95,000. Crime rate, extremely low. Violent crime is rare enough to be a story when it happens. Healthcare access, local clinic plus regional hospitals with senior transportation programs funded by the county. Property tax relief, Iowa's homestead credit, military exemption, and elderly and disabled property tax credit can significantly reduce or nearly eliminate property taxes for qualifying retirees. State tax advantages. Iowa excludes Social Security income from state taxation and offers senior utility assistance through LIHEAP during winter months. What nobody tells you is that Iowa quietly built one of the most boring but effective safety nets for aging Americans, and towns like Pocahontas are where it actually works. A local resident wrote online, "You don't come here to get ahead, you come here to stop falling behind." But then comes the real consequence. Living somewhere this small forces you to slow down emotionally, not just financially. You will be seen here. Miss church? Someone notices. Sick for a week? Someone knocks. That's comforting until it isn't. Privacy in Pocahontas isn't gone, it's just on a group plan. But here's the upside no spreadsheet shows. You're not fighting the system anymore. You're supported by it, quietly, predictably, without drama. Your social security check doesn't feel like a deadline. It feels like a budget that actually works. Let's talk winter. Iowa winter doesn't sneak up on you. It files paperwork first. Snow, wind, cold that feels like it's auditing your bones. You'll own more coats than friends, and you'll argue about snow tires like it's a moral issue. The good news? Snow removal here actually happens. The bad news? You'll still complain. It's tradition. Number 5. Presque Isle, Maine. If you retired up here by accident, no one would question it. They'd just hand you a snow shovel and ask how you like your coffee. Welcome to Presque Isle, Maine, the last outpost before the woods start speaking French and the rent stops trying to hurt your feelings. Presque Isle, yes, that's French for almost an island, sits just below the Canadian border in Aroostook County, aka the part of Maine most Mainers don't even go, which makes it perfect for people trying to stretch a government check like it's made of elastic. Let's break the math down. Average rent, $600 to $650 per month. Property tax deferral program. Seniors over 65 with incomes under $45,000 can defer property taxes until death or sale with no foreclosure risk. This is state law. LIHEAP energy assistance. The cold's real, but so is $1,000 to $2,000 plus per year in fuel bill help through Maine housing. Food access. SNAP enrollment is high here, and the local senior center runs daily subsidized hot meals. Healthcare. Northern Light A.R. Gould Hospital is local, with elder-focused primary care, free Medicare counseling, and a free transportation service for medical appointments. No tax on Social Security income in Maine. The joke is that nothing's going on in Presque Isle. The truth? That's why you can afford to be here. One local wrote online, "I'll take affordable groceries and clean air over rush hour and Whole Foods any day." Presque Isle isn't charming in a Hallmark movie way. It's charming in a "you didn't freeze and the power bill was $70 kind of way. It doesn't pretend to be cool. It is quiet, and it will absolutely take care of you, as long as you don't mind owning 3 coats and walking like a penguin 5 months a year. You know what's better than luxury? A furnace that works and neighbors who know CPR. Here, peace isn't something you have to chase. It's just there, like snowbanks, stoicism, and silent support. Okay, look, I respect Maine, but who signed off on this wind? It doesn't blow, it knives. It shows up uninvited, steals your breath, and leaves your eyebrows frozen into sad little icicles. And the snow? It's not fluffy, it's hostile. This isn't a snow globe, it's a seasonal survival game where the prize is bragging rights and working heat tape. Now picture this. You're inside a small kitchen. It's warm. Coffee's brewing. The snow outside is stacked high, but you're not worried because the oil bill's covered by LIHEAP and the roads will be plowed before you even put on pants. You've got food in the freezer, a doctor who remembers your name, and a check that, for once, feels like enough. No hustle, no panic, just quiet, the kind that sticks. Remember back in Ely when the wind wanted to fight you? Presque Isle's wind just finishes the job, but at least it comes with financial aid. In Presque Isle, the biggest safety issue is slipping on ice. In certain metro cities, it's checking your mail without flinching. Choose your chaos. Would you rather shovel snow or shovel debt? Let me know in the comments, and be honest, we're tracking sarcasm levels. Like this video if you've ever Googled, "Can I retire on $800 and a dream?" Subscribe so you don't accidentally retire somewhere that charges extra for air and forgets to plow your soul. Number 4. Berlin, New Hampshire. Imagine a place that used to cut down the forest, not the workforce, where rivers roar louder than traffic and every stoplight blinks like it's explaining itself. Welcome to Berlin, New Hampshire, a town that feels forgotten on purpose, and that rarity is exactly why your social security check suddenly does stretch into real life. Berlin sits in the far north of New Hampshire, not the Europe on a postcard kind of north, but the edge of the wilderness kind, where winter doesn't just arrive, it takes up residence. And yeah, most people left when the mills closed, but that economic attrition made room for something unusual. Here's what the numbers look like. Average rent, approximately $550 to $620 per month. Median home value, around $90,000. Yes, that's actual home ownership territory. Crime rate, lower than big cities, but more quirky crime than violent ones. Healthcare access, Weeks Memorial Hospital plus mobile senior health clinics help bridge the rural gap. New Hampshire tax advantage, no state income tax and no social security tax. Energy assistance, LIHEAP, helps seniors with heating oil during brutal winters. Property tax relief, elderly exemptions available citywide, especially for fixed-income retirees. Here's the twist most people don't talk about. The economic quiet here isn't poverty, it's absence of inflation. If you moved here for quiet, brace yourself. Berlin redefines it. Your neighbors don't honk, they wave. The loudest thing most days isn't sirens or ads, it's the river. Relentless, persistent, honest. And that's where the emotional weight hits. You're not trading convenience for cost, you're trading noise for oxygen. Because in Berlin, the hardest traffic jam you'll hit might be a moose with attitude. And honestly, that's a feature. Here's what you get when your biggest monthly line item isn't rent or utilities, it's clarity. Instead of racing to appointments, you stroll. Instead of checking your phone, you watch seasons change. Your money no longer screams at you, it just sits there, quiet and intact. That's not a budget hack, that's permission to breathe. Okay, real talk, the snow here has an ego problem. It doesn't just pile up, it judges you. You clear a path, you feel proud, for 2 minutes. Until the next storm shows up like, is that all you got? Snow everywhere, ice where it shouldn't be, and that one rogue patch that exists solely to ruin your dignity. Northern drivers? Ice ninjas. Southern drivers? Cabaret. It's ironic. Berlin's winter feels harsher than a Miami HOA notice. But guess which one leaves you poorer? Exactly. Number 3. Selma, Alabama. If the cost of living dropped any lower here, it might legally count as a historical reenactment. Selma, Alabama, where the rent is cheap, the history is deep, and your social security check actually stretches without a calculator and a prayer. But don't get it twisted, this town isn't frozen in time, it's surviving in spite of it. Selma isn't just a town, it's a sentence in every American history textbook, and half the time, it's bolded. You've heard of it, the marches, the bridge, the legacy. But here's what nobody tells you, it's also one of the few places left where you can live on $700 a month and still have something left over. Let's talk numbers. Median rent? Approximately $500 per month. Median home price? Approximately $75,000. Yes, really. Crime rate? High on paper, but mostly property crimes. Locals say it's more poverty noise than danger. State taxes? No social security tax. SNAP and Medicaid expansion. Alabama offers both to low-income seniors. Yes, even here. Senior benefits. Property tax exemption on the state portion for 65 plus possible city-county breaks. Healthcare, Vaughn Regional Medical Center, plus senior-focused telehealth and rural mobile programs. So what's the catch? You're not moving to the next it city, but you are walking into a place that knows exactly what it costs to endure. Selma is emotional geography. Every street corner echoes with what happened and what hasn't happened since. But in a weird, gritty way, that gives it power, because this town understands scarcity, not the polished kind you see in documentaries, the kind that turns people into survivors. And that's what makes Selma a retirement loophole. Not because it's easy, but because it's honest. Here, your money doesn't go into HOA fees and curated brunch. It goes into keeping you warm, keeping you fed, keeping your peace. And honestly, that's worth more than ocean views and overpriced cocktails. Look, if potholes were a form of modern art, Selma would have a Louvre by now. Some roads feel like a choose-your-own-adventure book for your suspension. And don't even get me started on the parking lines, which are basically a suggestion wrapped in faded paint and dashed hopes. You're either parked, kinda parked, or inventing a new way to be crooked. Selma moves slow, but so do my knees, so I'm not complaining. Would you rather retire somewhere cool or somewhere kind? Let me know in the comments. Number 2. Alpena, Michigan. If Norman Rockwell ever painted the Great Lakes, he'd have landed in Alpena and probably rented a cabin for $550 a month. This place is what happens when you retire before inflation does. Alpena, Michigan, a town with more lighthouses than stoplights, more fish than fast food, and somehow fewer monthly bills than a college student's meal plan. Here's what we're dealing with. Median rent, approximately $650 per month. Crime rate, 30% below the national average. Healthcare access, Mid-Michigan Medical Center plus VA clinic nearby. State tax breaks, no tax on Social Security income. Property tax programs, seniors 65 and older can qualify for the homestead property tax credit and poverty exemptions. Cost of living, approximately 18% below the national average. SNAP Medicaid support, available and more accessible in rural zones like Alpena. So while the rest of the country debates avocado toast, Alpena retirees are buying groceries, heating their homes, homes and maybe still managing to save something. Because Michigan, quietly, weirdly, knows how to take care of its elders. The policies aren't loud, they're just working. Living here isn't glamorous, but it's quietly radical. In a world where 60 feels like 40, but your bank account feels like 1905, Alpena offers something rare: stability. You can own a home, walk to the water, see a doctor without trading a kidney, and still have money left for a Friday night fish fry. This isn't a loophole, it's a lifeline. And the town doesn't ask much in return, just that you can handle snow taller than your sedan. Okay, look, Alpena's winters are not cute. They're a 5-month snow globe simulation designed by someone who really hates Florida. Snow piles up like it's preparing to reenact the Ice Age. And yes, your car will vanish in the driveway at least twice a season. Also, why does everyone wave? It's wholesome but vaguely suspicious. I'm not used to this much human warmth in a town this cold. Picture this: you step outside. The air's clean, biting just enough to wake you up. The lake's calm. Fog rolls off the water like it's doing performance art. You walk to the local cafe, the one where they know your name, not your Wi-Fi password. You order pie, real pie. You pay in cash, and you don't flinch, because here, life costs what it used to. Reddit quote: Alpena's the kind of town where the bartender knows your blood type, but also checks in on your blood pressure. Fun fact, Alpena's population is only 10,000, which is less than the number of people currently yelling at their HOA board in Boca Raton. Earlier I said Selma moves slow. Well, Alpena moves slower, but with mittens and maple syrup. You can buy a lakefront home in Alpena for less than a parking space in San Francisco, and one of them comes with eagles. Number 1. Dumas, Arkansas. You made it to the end, and of course, the number 1 spot goes to a town that sounds made up. Welcome to Dumas, Arkansas. Although, depending on the weather, some residents may debate that. Here's the thing about Dumas: it's not trying to be anything, it just is. And sometimes, that's the best kind of retirement. The data? Sneaky good. Median rent, $520 per month. Property tax, among the lowest in the US. Thank you, Arkansas. Social Security